Hello, everybody, and we are hot off the presses this week.
Wait, reset.
Hello, everybody, and we are hot off the presses this week with Shrektober Part 4, as I literally finished Shrek Forever After less than 10 minutes ago, and we are now recording the episode. I've been very busy this week, and right after we're done with this, I got to write a paper that's due at midnight, and we're probably going to get done at like 9 o'clock. So, Mom, don't get mad at me. This is what I got to do. This is Shrektober.
So, you know what we should do, fellow Shaggy Goose Egg Boys? Just pay us a bunch of money so we don't have to go to school. That'd be nice.
That would be pretty nice. But this is Shrektober Part 4. Hopefully you've listened to the other 3 Shrektober parts. I think we've had some pretty good insights into Shrek. And honestly, I'm not sure where this episode's going to go, because I think there's a few like on the surface level meanings, but I also think there's a few like deeper level meanings that people wouldn't pick up on.
And if you haven't listened to the other 3, this one's not going to make any sense because they're all connected because it's part of the same timeline and universe. Just go listen to the other ones and you can come back here and it'll make sense. Thank you very much.
Just think about this. If you're alive and you're an adult and you don't know what happened when you were a kid or a teenager, then you don't like that's like all your life. And if you just listen to this episode, you've missed all of Shrek's life. Basically.
And as Thomas has mentioned, Shrek basically is life.
Shrek is life. But
listen to those.
Today we're talking about Shrek Forever After, which
is not Shrek 4.
No.
It's Shrek Forever After.
I might have some trivia on that later if I remember to bring it up. But I think this might be my favorite Shrek movie. It's certainly not the best.
I was thinking about that.
But I really like it. I teared up in this movie.
Thomas, I cried 3 times.
So I don't cry a lot. But there were 3 times in this movie
Thomas is tough.
Where I almost cried, but then I actually did tear up once. And for me, like tearing up is like regular person crying.
So what is you crying?
Well, usually so like sometimes I'll actually cry, but it's never like, except for Avengers Endgame. The first time I saw that, I was like pouring tears during the portal scene. It was just so overwhelming. Every time I see it since, I am depressed because I don't like that. I like that movie less every time I watch it. But we're not talking about that today. And then like in Coco, if you've seen Pixar's Coco, that movie gets me every time. I'll actually cry.
When the one guy gets dusted, or however you want to call it.
No, it's at the end when the kid singing the song.
Oh, okay.
That always gets me.
Okay. Which is DreamWorks. So
that's Pixar.
That's what I said.
Not DreamWorks. But today we're talking about Shrek Forever After, which is for now the final Shrek film. I think it books in the franchise very nicely. I don't think there should be another one.
I agree.
Alas, Universal's got to make that money, so there's probably going to be a 5th one at some point. But
have you introduced us at all during Shrektober?
We're Thomas and Jake. This is our podcast, Al Pacino's Prison Scene. Shrektober.
Woo! Okay, now you can do it.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't have any more like intro things, then I guess I'll go ahead and get into a recap.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so this movie starts off. Shrek's had some babies, and he's like, man,
Well, Fiona's had babies.
Right. But the babies are here. And Shrek's like, man, I love being a dad. But then, because of like the very quick-paced editing of the first scene, we see that like every day for Shrek is basically the same day. And he has no relaxation time because he's got to take care of the babies. And then he's got Donkey coming in being like, play date! And then he's got Puss coming in for dinner every night. And Shrek doesn't like that life. He's also got like a Hollywood tour bus being like, this is the guy who told us he didn't have to change his underwear to change the world. And Shrek doesn't like that very much. So then it cuts to they're flying to their birthday party and a song plays. And I wrote down what the song was, but I'm not on that page, so I'm not going to say it. And then Shrek goes to the birthday party and this kid's like, do the roar.
Do the roar.
And Shrek's like, I don't want to do the roar. Which earlier in the film, I think he's lost his roar. But we can get to that later.
Yes. Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Then the party is like, everything's all happy and fun and colorful. And he's like, man, I used to be an ogre. And now this is my life.
Do the roar.
So then he gets mad and does the roar and smashes the cake.
I love you, Daddy.
And then Fiona's like, "Come on, man. What's up? What's up with you?" And then Shrek says, "I wish that I didn't save you from the tower," or something like that.
Fiona, he's like, "I wish I was at Bethor." And Fiona was like, "Before you save me." And he was like, "Yes!"
And Shrek didn't know this, but Rumpelstiltskin was hiding behind the garbage. Oh, also, all right. So
Rumpelstiltskin's in this. And then
forget everything I said.
the
I talk about the beginning.
The beginning.
So this one, it opens with a storybook again, which that's how you know Shrek the Third is a bad movie, because it's the only one in the franchise that didn't open with a storybook. Although it did open a play, which could be argued as an adaptation of the story, but we're not talking about that movie. That was last week. Anyways, it opens with a storybook, and Rumpelstiltskin is reading the story. And he's clearly not happy with the way the story goes. But this is set presumably before this happened. This is happening like concurrently with the first movie.
Yes.
And Rumpelstiltskin is King Harold and Fiona's mom, whatever her name is.
Lillian.
And then Rumpelstiltskin's like, "Hey, you signed this contract, and then all your problems will go away." But then someone bursts through the doors like, "Fiona was saved!" So then now, for the past couple of movies, Rumpelstiltskin's basically been a bum. And then, all right, fast forward to wherever I was at earlier.
Rumpelstiltskin comes out, plots a thing for Shrek. Ogres are supposed to eat me. You're not going to eat me?
Yeah.
There.
All right, so Shrek was like yelling at Fiona, but Rumpelstiltskin was scared, and Shrek didn't know that. So then Rumpelstiltskin fakes a carriage wreck, and then Shrek helps him. But then Rumpelstiltskin knows that Shrek doesn't feel like he's an ogre anymore, so he acts scared. And then he's like, "Hey, you want to come inside for an eyeball teeny?" And Shrek's like, "Maybe just one." And then Rumpelstiltskin tricks him. He's like, "Hey, sign this contract, and you can get any day, and I'll just pick a day from like you don't even remember, from when you were very young, and that day you just want to have that day." And Shrek's like, "Yeah, okay, I can do that. There's nothing wrong with wanting something for myself." So he takes a deal, and then he gets to live one more day as just a regular ogre again. But come to find out, the day that Rumpelstiltskin took was the day that Shrek was born.
You took the day I was born.
So that means if Shrek does not, by the end of this movie, somehow find a way to get out, then he'll never have existed. And now, in this alternate timeline, Donkey's like all ruffled up, Puss is really fat, Gingy's like a gladiator fighting animal crackers, and Pinocchio seems like he's the same. But
yeah,
the three little pigs are essentially slaves to...
Big Bad Wolf's a slave too.
Yeah, to Rumpelstiltskin. So all the characters that we've come to know and love over the course of these 4 movies are now like really bad off because Shrek never existed, or Shrek was never born. So then he finds out, because donkeys are really smart apparently, better out than in, I always say. Donkey's really smart apparently, and he's like, "Hey, if you fold this up, then you can see the secret way to get out." And he folds it wrong, and it says like something fills bliss or something like that.
Bliss, yeah. Who's Lou Bliss?
But then Shrek refolds it, and it says True Love's Kiss. So he's like, all I got to do is kiss Fiona. So then they end up at like this ogre camp, because the ogres, apparently then this whole time there's been a ton of ogres that we just didn't know about. And they've all been in hiding, I'm assuming.
It's like the pandas in Kung Fu Panda.
Right. The third one.
Well, they're still there, like...
Oh, yeah.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
We just don't see
I
them.
got you. So they've been here the whole time, but they've just been hiding out because people don't like ogres. But in this movie, Fiona was never saved, so now she's leading a like ogre resistance against Rumpelstiltskin.
With Craig Robinson, Jane Lynch, and who's the other one?
John Hamm.
John Hamm, yeah.
And Shrek tries to kiss her, and she's like, "Nah, I don't want none of that."
Boo!
But then later, they do kiss, but she hasn't fallen in love with him.
She almost did, but not quite.
She almost did what? Oh, fall in love,
yeah.
But she hasn't fallen in love with him. So then the kiss doesn't work, and she thinks that Shrek was just lying this whole time. And right before that happened, all the other ogres got captured by the Pied Piper.
They were doing dancing,
Yeah. So then Shrek is like, Gingy comes to Shrek and is trying to kill him. And he's like, Rumpelstiltskin is going to give me a reward if I turn you in. And so Shrek's like, tell me more about this reward, Gingy. And then you look over and Puss ate Gingy. And he's like, "Oh, are you going to eat that?" But can't ask Gingy for help anymore.
Yeah. Holy shit, Gingy died. I didn't even think about that.
But yeah, we're not going to talk about that because I love Gingy. Anyways, Shrek goes to Rumpelstiltskin. He's like, "Oi, I wish that all the ogres get released. So Rumpelstiltskin's like, you idiot.
But
Guess what? Fiona's not all ogre, so she does not get released. And then they're in like this little chain thing where they can't reach each other, which is very good visually. There's a better word to say that, but I don't know what it was.
cinematically.
Sure. And then all the ogres plot a way to get back in and set them free. So they do that, and then Donkey tries to seduce Dragon, but Dragon's not having it, and Puss has to save him. But then Donkey says, "We're in love," so he's not really, he's not smart again. But then Fiona's like, "Oh, Shrek, you saved everybody, thank you." And then Shrek's like, "Hey, you gave me my everything," or whatever he says. And then she kisses him, but he fades away because the day is up. And then the sun rises, but Fiona doesn't turn back into a human, which means that the true love's kiss worked. And then they all return back to the real reality, and I'm a Believer plays. And
But
that's the end
it's
of the
not
movie.
sung by, and all the ogres are there.
Are they all there?
Yeah.
I
Well,
just- I just
not
saw,
like
the
all
three.
of them, but like the main ones.
Yeah.
And Fiona sings, and what's the
The goose
goose's name?
explodes,
Yeah,
I
the
don't
goose
know.
explodes.
Which I didn't see that coming, but I thought it was pretty funny.
Have you've seen the fourth one though, right?
I've seen it before, but I do have to confess, I don't think I saw this one until a few years after it was initially released.
Okay. I think I've only seen this one a few times, but I don't remember it that well.
I mean, I just remember that it's like the alternate timeline Shrek.
All right, but before we go any further, let's hear a quick word from our sponsors. Thomas, let me ask you something. Do you think that Shrek is musically inclined?
I mean, he can hold his nose and make a horn with his ears.
So do you think that translates to like being able to play instruments?
I mean, if he can do that rhythmically, I don't know how well his rhythm is. I'm gonna say no.
So you don't think his big, oddly bony hands can slap the piano keys?
No, I think Donkey probably could.
You think Don? Wait, does he in the first movie? I think in the first movie.
Yeah. I think he does. He plays when they're singing "I'm a Believer."
Maybe that's what I'm thinking about then. Well, let me ask you this. So I got a little bit of insider information from DreamWorks. Do you know where they got that piano serviced?
If I had to guess, I would say more piano services.
And you're absolutely freaking right, Thomas. You know why, Thomas?
Why?
Because More Piano Services is the premier
Piano.
is the premier piano service place you gotta go. You know what they did? That freaking piano, Thomas?
I mean, they fixed it so good that a donkey could play it.
That's
so-
exactly right. Bro, they tuned that piano like beauty. They got it voiced. They got it regulated. They did a little bit of repair on the bodywork because it's been in a swamp for so long. They had to get it to look good. And they also did some classic, beautiful Swamp Love Baby Restoration.
Swamp Love.
Swamp Love Baby Restoration. That's actually what the piano's called.
Swamp Love Baby
Baby.
Restoration?
No, Swamp Love Baby.
Oh, okay.
And they got all that done at More Piano Services.
Wow.
But I don't know how they contacted them because they have to call them.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sure somebody probably has a phone, a magic phone.
Okay. Well, the number they had to call was 205-810-0012. But I'm pretty sure Donkey's mentioned like VHS or like CDs or something.
Probably.
So they got to have phones. And they called 205-810-0012. Now, they did have to travel a little bit to go to Birmingham and Alabama.
More Piano Services is not in Far, Far Away.
Well, it wasn't. It was in the swamp. Not far, far away.
Well, More Piano Services is not in the swamp either.
So they had to go to
far,
Birmingham.
far away from the swamp, but it's not in Far, Far Away.
No.
It's in Birmingham, Alabama.
So, if you want to have your piano expertly tuned, just like Donkey and Shrek and their Swamp Love Baby piano, make sure to hit up More Piano Services once again at 205-810-0012. Now back to the green.
All right, so Jake, I'm gonna ask you to talk for a little bit because I don't know, listeners, if you could hear this or not, but there's a fan going that I just realized, so I'm gonna turn that off.
Oh,
And Jake
sorry.
can bring something up.
Hey man, it gets a little hot in here sometimes. But I do want to mention, so like Thomas said, it's a lot quieter now.
Yeah, but I don't know if they can hear it.
Okay. So we're back to storybook opening, and I want to point out that each storybook opening was read by a different person, and they were
And
all different
yeah, that's what I
stories.
was about to say.
And
I
so,
wrote that
like,
down.
well, okay, so I brought it up. What do you think about that?
So I think, well, see, here's the thing: are they all like part of the same story? Because this one ends with the book closing.
It does, and he's in Pinocchio's shop.
Who is?
Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh, when he's
When
reading
he's
it.
reading it, yeah, then he gets kicked out.
Oh, I did. Oh, yeah. So like that book was for sale, and then so presumably the book that Rumpel was reading is the book that Shrek puts on the shelf at the end.
I
But
don't
then,
know. At the end of what, this movie?
yeah, at the end of the movie, at the end of this movie, after the book closes, Shrek puts it on the shelf.
Oh, okay, okay.
But what I was going to say was, since the book closes in this one, all right, Jake just made a face, so I'm going to let him say what he was gonna. say.
Okay. Thomas, the book exists in the world.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how that works, though, because maybe it's just this book that exists.
Well, yeah.
Because
But in the first movie, Shrek is actually reading the books.
Yeah.
Like that book exists. So, but presumably, I think we said that the book that Charming reads is not actually a book because we don't see anyone flipping the pages.
Okay,
And now it's just
okay.
him like reciting
yeah.
what his mom.
And then it goes into the actual. Okay.
Yeah.
But
so,
Shrek rips a page out.
Yeah. So presumably the first book was a book, just like about either a general princess story because no one's name is in it.
True.
A general princess story that just like so happened to align with Fiona, or it was actually about Fiona, and now it's some kind of like cosmic universe thing with it being in Shrek's hands. But then this book that Rumpel was reading, I would assume is a book that has been written about Shrek, and like because he's a celebrity in this movie as showcased by like the Hollywood tours.
Yeah, true enough. Okay, I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that was a very like interesting like mix of reality and
no, and I mean I didn't think about that, and I probably wouldn't have said what I said if you had not brought it up.
So Thomas, what do you think this movie is about?
All right, well, on the surface, I think it's very clearly like be careful what you wish for, and even Shrek at one moment says, "I didn't know what I had till it was gone."
Oh yeah, we have a classic "It's a Wonderful Life,"
and that's like the surface meaning.
Yeah,
and the like about halfway through this movie, I remembered how it ended.
Yeah,
and I think like the next level, like not like super deep, not like underground dinosaur bones deep,
like corporate propaganda deep,
but like just under the sidewalk.
Yeah, think a little bit.
Meaning is like the true love because arguably Shrek and Fiona, well not arguably, Shrek and Fiona are each other's true loves, but as we see when they kissed the first time, it didn't work. So they weren't their true love yet. So this is a debate, I think a debate in like the real world of whether true love exists or not, or like love at first sight or whatever. And I wrote down, if I can find it, true love is not some mystical, magical thing that transcends reality. It's something that has to be earned. And like Fiona says, it's all just a big fairy tale. So like true love as perpetuated by like, as we said, the Shrek began as like a deconstruction of Disney movies. True love as perpetuated in those movies is like the thing that saves the day. And those characters were destined, quote unquote, to be in love with each other.
Yeah.
But I think Shrek promotes that true love is real and is achievable, but it's something that you have to earn.
Yeah.
Which arguably means it's also something that you can lose.
Well, he yeah, I think I agree with that.
But so that's what I'm trying to like the sum of all that is that I think that like the deeper meaning is like true love is not what you expect.
Yeah. Well, I mean the whole thing with like the first movie is that I mean love at first sight as perpetuated by these films does not exist.
Yes.
And then like you're saying it's not always what you expect. Again, perpetuated by the first film and the films throughout. Like this beautiful princess Fiona falls in love with an ogre, and an ogre who doesn't want to love anybody falls in love with a beautiful princess. So it's like, you know, I agree with that. It's an interesting thing because it's kind of the same idea of Interstellar, and the way that love transcends time and space.
I haven't seen that movie, so I just have to.
You haven't seen Interstellar?
No.
What? Thomas!
So I'm just gonna have to take your words for this.
Okay, for all you people who've seen Interstellar, then you know that love transcends time and space. Because Matthew McConaughey is able to contact Marv throughout time and space. And I'm not going to say a whole lot since Thomas hasn't seen it. And which I'm honestly, I kind of want to stop recording now because of that. I'm a little upset. How did I not know that?
I don't know. My dad has tried to get me to watch it several times.
Why have you not watched it?
I just haven't. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Well, Matthew McConaughey is not in Shrek.
That we know of.
I guess you're right.
But they are able to fall in love in almost completely different circumstances. You know?
Yes, but in this one, I don't think Shrek would have done what he did if he had not existed through the other three movies. Like, I don't think he would have freed the ogres if the other three movies had not already happened to him.
Well, and maybe that's where the idea of true love comes in.
Because it's like, yeah, I think it was in the second one when somebody says, you know, people are willing to change for those they love.
Yeah.
And so maybe Shrek didn't like consciously change, but he was influenced by Fiona and taught that like he could be loved. And so that made him more loving as a person.
Okay, so let me throw this out here. Maybe true love is not the person, but the feeling it creates.
And like that transcends.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. Because like Shrek was obviously still in love with Fiona, even though this was not his Fiona.
Yeah.
Because he still was like,
well, and this is what we see in Guardians of the Galaxy, or this is what we see in Avengers Endgame with what's his name?
With Star-Lord and
Gamora, yeah.
Oh yeah, because she's like the past one,
right?
But because Shrek like says to her like all the things, you know, you like when you see a shooting star, you like cross your fingers,
you cross both your hands, and you squint your nose out real tight,
and you make a wish.
Like
that scene, we see that he still knows all those things, and like that's only something that
your true love would know.
Yeah.
Like somebody who really loves you would know.
Then Fiona is like, how the heck do you know all this stuff? And then she is not in love with him. Although in the scene when they're like fighting to prepare or whatever, I would say that sparks were flying in that scene, and they were on the road.
Oh, absolutely. But then, you know, Shrek kind of messed it up. And then we see Puss in Boots being like, this is crazy. I have never seen anything like this before.
But I will say, the thing, as far as like love at first sight goes, in the first movie...
You know about the cars.
In the first movie, after Fiona gets saved, she instantly is like, Shrek, you must be my true love because you're the one who saved me from the castle. But that's before she actually sees him, like sees that he's an ogre. But I wrote down that like her speech about, you know, her being like having to cry to sleep every night, like when she's in that scene, which is right after they kiss in this one, explains why she was so eager and ready to jump into quote unquote true love with whoever it was that rescued her, and it just happened to be Shrek.
And so maybe I'm formulating this as I go, because this is not, I didn't think we were going to talk about this at all. So maybe there's also a message of like not trying to find love, but letting it find you. Because even okay, the argument can be made that Fiona was looking for love, and she found Shrek, and then therefore that's why they fell in love. But like you're saying, you know, the initial contact, yes, she was like, "Oh, you're my true love." Found out found out Shrek was an ogre, was like, "Bleh." But then as time went on, because she was no longer looking for love from him, it was able to be nurtured and fostered.
Well, and she in the first movie, she also like really had to accept herself being cursed. But I do agree with what you're saying.
All right, you anything more about love for now?
Probably, but I don't, not off the top of my head. No.
Okay, all right. Let's go into. I want to. This is just a quick little Easter egg. Lillian and Harold, I forget who it was, but I think it was Lillian, said that Rumpelstiltskin was recommended by King Midas.
Yeah.
Do you know who King Midas is?
He's like the gold guy.
He's the guy who wished that anything he touched turned into gold. And eventually he couldn't eat anything, and eventually he turned his own daughter into gold.
Yeah.
Which I think is a super awesome little Easter egg that they would refer to that. So that instantly we as an audience should already know who Rumpelstiltskin is.
Right.
He's just a bad dude. But I think that line really like hones in on what kind of person Midas is, or Rumpelstiltskin is.
Yes. Like, are you saying that like that just right off the bat is like, hey, he's a cursed guy, like he's a tricky guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Did you say be careful what you wish for? You said that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think Rumpelstiltskin's whole character like perpetuates that.
Yes.
So the first song I remember was "One Love" that Antonio Banderas was singing. Which, when was that? That was in the beginning.
Yeah, that's at the very beginning.
Was it before the montage?
No, it's during.
Okay.
So it's like the first scene of the day, and then it like rapidly gets faster, and then he sings it after the first one.
Okay.
But he only sings 2 verses. He doesn't sing the whole thing. And I tried to write down every song that was in the movie this time. I didn't look up any of them though. So.
Well, and see, I think this is where. So I think I agree with you that Shrek 4 might be my favorite, just because it's the most emotional and it's the most real. We kind of forget that they're ogres.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that the music is a little bit more lackluster in this. It's a lot less memorable.
Well, there's also less music.
There's less music in general, and there's less music from Donkey.
Except for when he's the radio station.
Yes, but here's the problem with that. So in the other films, it wasn't mentioned. It just kind of happened. But in this film, they mention it. They make it known that he's doing that. And I think that's where it kind of messes up a little bit. But, yeah, that song plays. I didn't look up too much into it because that's kind of like I can easily see, what that is. And then, that whole montage, if we want to talk about like the idea that you've brought up in the past episodes about how Shrek, the Shrek, the series, not the character, is stages of life. Well, this really is, and it can be seen in that montage that this is where kind of like the monotony comes in.
Yeah.
Like to where like a midlife crisis would come out of is this.
And I do think that these movies are definitely on like an accelerated timeline.
Yeah.
Because this one only takes place a year after the third one because it's the children's first birthday party.
Yeah.
And hopefully once you have kids, you wouldn't like 1 year down the road being like, oh God, why did I do this?
Yeah.
Hopefully it would take a little bit longer for that to happen. But because Shrek is movies and, movies are different than real life, just because the timeline is compressed doesn't mean that the movie is not metaphorical of the midlife crisis.
Yeah. Well, and his first interaction with Rumpelstiltskin, I think, really plays into that idea. So he's already kind of thinking like, I think somebody else says it. They're like I miss you, like when you were scary.
Oh yeah. I wrote down one of the villagers says something. If I can find it. Okay. It says, you used to be an ogre. Well, that's what Shrek says. Let me find it. Oh, yeah. You used to be so fierce back when you were a real ogre. That's what somebody says to him. But then also... I
think Rumpelstiltskin also says something about that, too.
Well, yeah, but I think that's partially because he overheard Shrek's conversation with Fiona. And then I think the dude's dad, like the roar kid, I think his dad says something to Shrek about that. But then Shrek says, I used to be an ogre, and now I'm just a jolly green giant. A jolly green joke.
Which is a super interesting dichotomy, this whole scene. Because and you mentioned this, where he kind of tries to do the roar, Fiona's sleeping, and he opens a drawer. And the
wanted poster.
Well, the wanted poster, yes, but also the favor that Fiona left him.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
And possibly the storybook might have also been in there. I didn't take a super deep look, but he pulled up 2 things, and one of them was the favor, and I think the other one was a storybook. But then he pulls out the wanted poster, which is at the bottom. And he goes, "Rawr, rawr." So we see him wanting, he wants his old life, but then at the party, they're like, do the roar. And we would think that Shrek would happily do it because that would, let him kind of be his old ogre self, but he refuses to do it. And then he goes out and is like, I wish things were back when they made sense when I was an ogre. And that's what he's feeling, blah, blah, blah. So it's interesting that, like, he won't do the roar, which is one of the biggest characteristics of being an ogre. But then he's also like, I want to go back to how things were.
Well, it's you say that doing a roar is one of the characteristics that's most known of being an ogre. I think this movie might suggest that Shrek doesn't know all that much about being an ogre, because like when they grab their noses and they do the horn thing.
Oh yeah, he
he's
doesn't
like,
know that. Yeah.
I didn't know we could do that, and that could be because of his dad tried to eat him.
Yeah.
So he likely was out on his own fairly early, just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And wasn't taught of like everything an ogre could do, but then was raised in these stereotypes, as we've discussed throughout this month of Shrektober, of at what everyone thinks an ogre is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Shrek was like, well, I guess that's what I am.
Okay, so you're saying basically his characteristics were created by seeing these stereotypes of what he should be. So I mean that goes back to what we said in Megamind, which if you have not listen to that episode. Megamind's one of our favorite movies. Definitely go listen to that because we talk about perception and how.
Well, and I think Megamind is one of our better episodes too, and it's got.
Is that DreamWorks too?
Yeah, it's got one of the lower listener counts on the episode, which is okay. If you don't want to watch Big Blue Head Man, that's all right. But
shame on you.
I think that's a good episode.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I do agree with what you're saying about how he's kind of losing what he believes it means to be an ogre. Whether that is necessarily true of what it means to be an ogre.
Right. And I think also that a lot of the things that are in the Shrek movies is like sort of an acceptance from different like things.
Mm-hmm.
First accepting that accepting that you can.
First one was like self-acceptance.
Then it was acceptance of love from others. And then it was...
Look, I know we talked about the third one last week, but I already don't remember it. And that's just how like blank slate of a movie that is.
Acceptance of something.
Something to do with dads. I remember talking about dads.
I do remember talking about dads.
But... Oh, maybe it was like acceptance of like your responsibility as a parent.
So let's go with that. Acceptance of responsibility. And this one kind of is acceptance that your life is different now.
Right.
And I'm sure there's a better way to put that, but that's kind of what it's about.
Yeah, like you can't go back. And I mean, as we said earlier, Shrek says in the movie, I didn't know what I had until it was gone.
Right.
And that's something that obviously people talk about all the time, and you know what that means, so I'm not going to harp on it. But I do think that's a pretty relevant theme in this movie.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of where like we're saying that acceptance comes in. Is like, and I think I mentioned this, that I thought the first film was a bit nihilistic in a sense. And I think that this Shrek 4 really does have those themes, not necessarily of the more sinister side of nihilism where it's like nothing matters, so why do anything about it, but more of the sense of life happens, you can't control it, so you can either fight against it or you can let it happen and accept that.
Right. And that goes along with what I think you're saying about love and how you can either like search for love, but then it won't necessarily be what you want.
Right.
But if you let love happen to you, then you can find your true love.
Right.
So, yeah, I do think that Shrek is obviously not happy after the montage, that this life is not what he thought. But also, throughout this franchise, pretty much every minor inconvenience that comes into Shrek and Fionnu's relationship, he just wants to like shut down and turn around.
Yeah.
It was like in the second movie, he first of all, he didn't want to go to far away, and then he didn't want to deal with Harold, and then he was like, well, I guess if we're gonna stay here,
Can I just say that I'm getting emotional right now just because this movie's making me so like. Sorry, keep going.
and then I think Shrek thinks that he has to be someone else for Fiona, but she's like, no, I love you because of how you are. And then again, the third movie, I don't remember.
I mean, let's think about the very first time we see Shrek. Is at his thing, but the very first time he interacts with another main part, another pivotal character, is with Donkey.
Mm-hmm.
Shrek did not want to be Donkey's friend.
Are you talking about this movie or the first movie?
The first one. Shrek did not want to be Donkey's friend. He was trying to refuse Donkey from being in his life. And then look where we are in the fourth movie. Shrek's like, Donkey, you're my best friend.
And then when in the alternate world, Donkey's like the first character from these movies that he sees, and then Donkey rejects him because he's like, a donkey can never be friends with an ogre.
But then we see that it happens anyway.
Right. Which, what do you think you would say was like the key to that relationship, or do you think it just happened gradually?
The entire relationship overall,
or just like in this movie, like the reestablishment of it? Because I guess like because Donkey runs away because he thinks Shrek's gonna kill him.
So in Stranger Things 2, I'm gonna use a little bit of a.
That's the one with the dogs.
Stranger Things 2?
Yeah.
Oh yes, the Demi dogs. If you haven't seen Stranger Things, go watch it. It's a great show. Stranger Things 2. What's his name?
Or
spoilers. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll throw it in there anyway.
Dustin?
Spoilers.
You talking about Dustin?
No, I'm talking about what's his name?
Lucas? Will?
No, the brother. Jonathan and Nancy go to Murray Bauman to try to investigate the Hawkins lab or whatever. And Murray Bauman says something to him. Because they're kind of like we're in a bit of a will they, won't they, let's hope they do kind of situation.
Right.
And Murray Bauman's like, y'all've got it. Y'all have got like chemistry. Y'all have got, you like the same stuff, and you've got the real shit, the stuff that matters, shared trauma. So I think that this is kind of where their relationship comes out of, is that they have gone through some crazy stuff together. Shrek and Donkey is now who I'm talking about.
Yes.
Because in the first one, Donkey's about to be sold, and he escapes, and Shrek saves him from being sold. And then in this one, the same kind of thing happens. He's about to get eaten, and Shrek saves him.
Was he about to get eaten?
Yeah,
by the ogres.
Yeah. And so there's a bit of this, this trauma that they share now. Like Shrek saved his life, and so when I forget what it's called, but there's like what is it called?
Well, all right. Well, while you're like trying to figure out what's called, I think the first movie, more so than like shared trauma, Donkey has like separation anxiety and feels the need to like be around. And I might not be using that correctly, but he feels the need to be around somebody, and like he doesn't want to be alone, and that's why he just attaches with Shrek. It's like, yes, Shrek did save him, but I think part of the reason Donkey sticks with Shrek is because Shrek's the only person that's ever like shown him love. If that makes sense.
Okay, so it does not seem like there's a real thing, but like in TV, it's called like rescue romance, and they're kind of talking about like transference, Nightingale syndrome, whatever. You listeners, Shaggy Goose Egg Bois, you know what I'm talking about. So I think it's kind of like that. And I did not listen to anything you said because I was looking this up.
That's okay. But I think in the fourth one, in this one, Shrek Forever After, so as I asked you the question, whatever I asked you, I realized that Donkey comes back when he sees that Shrek cries. So it's kind of like in the first movie.
Which, let's pause there. Shrek cries. I cried.
I think that might be the first time Shrek has cried in these movies.
It absolutely is. I think that's the only time we've seen like anybody cry.
Well, Donkey cries in the second one.
Yeah, but that's not like
get a teardrop on the thing.
But I think this is the first emotional cry that we see, maybe except for Fiona at some point.
Donkey comes back when he sees Shrek cry, and like Shrek is crying because he's looking at the thing his kid owned, and
Yeah.
he's realizing that's the moment when Shrek realizes, everything he's lost.
Oh crap! I made a mistake.
Right. But in the first movie, Donkey is the character who is pushing Shrek to, accept that ogres don't have to be quote unquote ogres,
Yeah.
They have layers, as Shrek says. And then Donkey forces him, and we've discussed this in the other episodes. Donkey pushes him to come out and accept that he is not this big, ugly monster. But now in this movie, Shrek thought he wanted to be that monster again. But after being in fake world, or whatever you want to call it, I don't have a good name for it. He realizes that that's not what he wants. Like when he sees Donkey, Donkey's like, "How do I know that you're my friend?" And he says that song, whatever it is, I don't remember.
I don't either.
And he's like, "You've got a friend," and sticks all his arms out, and then Donkey runs away. But then at the end of the movie, Donkey sings that song again right before all of the ogres save Shrek and Fiona. Which
I missed that.
Now that I've got to that scene, let's talk about them talking about tying shoes, because that's brought up 3 times.
Yes.
So I don't know, like the actual through the dragon goes through the hole and into the castle or whatever. But
at the actually, it happens. I think it happens right along with plot point 1, midpoint, and plot point 2.
That's like my brain just blanked. For all you normal people, that's like the typical
narrative
structure of a
narrative points
script
in the
structure.
film.
Yeah. But yeah, so initially at the beginning of this movie, Fiona says that when she's tying Felicia's shoes. I think it was the girl's shoes.
It's an ogre.
It's a baby ogre. And then that's one of the things that Shrek gets tired of. But then later, when Shrek and Fiona are trying to reconnect, Shrek says that, and when he says that, that's the first thing that Fiona is like, "Hey, how'd you know that?"
Well, because this is right after they had their little sparring match,
right? Because his shoe came in,
and Puss in Boots is like, "I have never seen anything like this."
So that was the thing that brought them together. And then at the end, they say it when they're taking down Dragon. But I wrote down that talking about learning how to tie a shoe is only something that 2 parents could bond over.
Yeah. And I think I'm developing, something more here, as I think that there is a bit of, like I said, acceptance, but, the beauty in monotony and the same thing happening every day.
See, all right. So whenever asked what my biggest fear is, I always say monotony, which I know that's like an abstract thing. But for me, if I was doing the same thing every day, I would lose my freaking mind, which is arguably what Shrek does here. So,
well, and we know that you sometimes turn into an ogre, so
yes, only in Shrektober. But that I could not handle being doing the same thing every day forever. So I think maybe this movie is saying, because initially Shrek is fed up with that, but then at the end, arguably he accepts that, but we don't actually see him going through that again happily.
Yeah.
So maybe the message is, and I could be projecting my own feelings onto this, but maybe the message is to it's up to you to spice it up, and your life could be the same thing every day, but you yourself also have the power to change that. Because Shrek signs the contract, and then he does that for the worse, but then at the end, he's made peace with his place. Okay, so actually that makes more sense. So the message would then be, forget everything I just said. The message would then be, monotony can be scary or, tiring. But once you have made, I just forgot the word. Once you become happy, see, look, I'm going to say complacent, which is making me not like this message. But once you have become happy with your place in that monotony, then it's okay. But now, as I'm saying that,
Okay,
I
here
don't want
let me take a crack at
I
it.
don't want you to be complacent.
Let me take a crack at it. Okay, so don't try to change what you can't control, but take charge of what you can control. Boom. There you go. How's that?
Yeah. How does the movie actually end? Is it just like him at the birthday party again, and then they're back at the house?
Yeah, I think so. It's a very, very quick denouement. Are you looking something up?
I was trying to figure out the ending, but Wikipedia didn't tell me anything.
I'm pretty sure that he snaps back mid roar. Then he looks around, lovey lovey, go home, dance in the mud.
Go home, dance in the mud. I thought love was only true.
So okay, so we've changed a little bit, but yeah, I think what I said, I feel like is most, maybe not most poignant, but most like accurate about acceptance and like control.
I'm sorry. I'm watching the ending of the movie again, but it's not. It's just like the birthday party scene. Because technically, the like where they're partying, that's just the credits.
Oh yeah. But I
Oh,
don't.
he also. I meant to mention this. Shrek also says, Fiona's like, "You rescued me at the dragon's place," and then Shrek's like, "No,
You rescued me.
right." So, but that also just goes back to what we were saying about love earlier and like how you need to be
Whoa,
willing to.
whoa, 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 whoa. Maybe this movie's kind of saying that like love is kind of selfish
How so?
because. So I watched this interview a long time ago with like a Buddhist, and basically he said, or maybe it wasn't a Buddhist. I don't know. Hold on.
Okay, well, we talked about the ending, so like that probably sounds like we're wrapping up, but there is a few things I wrote down, a few quotes that I want to bring up because I do think that they are important. The first one is Fiona says this when they're having their argument outside the party close to the beginning of the movie. Fiona tells Shrek, "Why is it the only person who can't see that is you?" And this is just right after he's like, she's like, "You have everything." And I think that one sentence or question is representative of his entire character
Why
throughout
you're
all these
saying why can
movies.
everyone see that but you?
Yeah, because like Shrek, arguably in each movie, like Shrek has it all, and then he gets it all even more. But then in each
Oh, here we
movie,
go. Sorry,
he's
keep
like he
going.
doesn't want to expand into having more, because Shrek is scared of the unknown. So maybe because Shrek has been scared of the unknown his whole life, and now that it is monotonous, which is like the opposite of that, he just doesn't know how to behave. But I think largely it is, like we said earlier, just that he does not, that he feels like he's lost what he believes it means to be an ogre.
Okay, so this movie might be portraying. Okay, so the movie presents a love that is selfish, but you take that presentation and understand it to be selfless. So there's this guy is not a Buddha. He was a rabbi named Abraham Tversky, and he told a parable. He said, "Young man, why are you eating the fish?" The young man says, "Because I love fish." The man says, "Oh, you love the fish. That's why you took it out of the water and killed it and boiled it." He says, Don't tell me you love fish, you love yourself. And because the fish tastes good to you, therefore you took it out of the water and killed it and boiled it. So
Are you saying that Shrek needs to learn how to care for his family?
no. What I'm saying is that it's interesting. So Shrek says you rescued me, right? But Shrek loves Fiona. And a lot of people say like, "Oh, my other half, my better half," or "you complete me." And I think that's a selfish love because they're taking that love and using it for their own
Self-identity.
And benefit. They are gaining something out of that love. So I think so when we first see this, you rescued me. Shrek has taken her love and imparted upon himself and made himself better with it. But if we understand the duality in a relationship, then it becomes selfless love.
Well, see, I feel like I've discussed this before with somebody. Maybe it wasn't on this podcast, but maybe true love is when like both parties are equally selfish and selfless
Yeah.
to the other one.
Right.
And like that's why it's something that you have to earn because you can't just immediately see someone and
love
be
them
like,
because you don't know who that person is at all.
right.
And I think they talk about this in Good Will Hunting, is that Robin Williams talks about what he loved about his wife. It wasn't her looks or any of that. Sure, he loved that, but it was her little idiosyncrasies, as he would put it. And so I want to go on with what you're saying is that there is if you truly love someone, you give, you sacrifice, as we see in the second movie. We sacrifice not to get something in return, but to give the other person something. But the other person loves you just as much, so they sacrifice themselves for you. And so it's not a give and take relationship, but it's a give relationship where like you receive it because they love you. And you don't give to them because they gave to you. You give to them because you love them. And that's what, like you're saying, that's what true love is.
When it goes both ways.
When it goes both ways, yeah. Well, no, not when it goes both ways. But when it goes individually, it goes to the other side.
Unconditionally,
yeah. And it creates it's not like a loop, but it's like an X or something, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I went off a little tangent there, but and that's what Shrek is about.
Okay. I think I can agree with that. I do not have more deeper meaning things. If you don't, I have some other things I'd like to bring up that are just like tangentially related.
Yeah. You didn't have a super deep meaning in this, did you?
No.
Okay. I did not either. So yeah, at the beginning of this episode, I did not think that that's what we were going to come to.
But I definitely think, like, obviously the surface thing is, like we said, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got what you got. Don't lose it. But I think that the true love message is like the more important. Like you didn't even realize this was in there, even though it is. But okay, so a few things I wrote down. First of all, ogres develop way faster than humans because those babies are only 1 year old and they're
talking.
Yeah, they're talking and walking and
they can go
doing diabolical things in their diapers, which
babies do that anyway.
Yeah, but ogre babies.
Which he says that in the third movie, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. But another thing, and this is like behind the scenes. Well, first of all, the guy that plays Rumpelstiltskin was not a voice actor before this movie. And he worked for DreamWorks and on shows such as like SpongeBob SquarePants and Dexter's Laboratory.
Okay.
And his name is Walt Dorn, but apparently...
Is he Dexter?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure Rumpelstiltskin was like the first acting role.
Okay.
But apparently, while they were like storyboarding the scripts, he would read for all the characters, and his Rumpelstiltskin was just too good. So
it's really good. It makes This is one of those times where it's like I can't see anybody else being Rumpelstiltskin.
Right. So there's that, but there's also, interestingly, when the second movie was like super successful, Katzenberg, who is the guy we talked about in the first movie with the creation of Farquaad, he's like the head DreamWorks guy.
Mhm.
He announced, like right after Shrek 2 came out, he was like, there's going to be 3 more Shrek movies, which would be 3, 4, 5. And they're all going to explore like different parts of Shrek's life. So they did the third movie called Shrek the Third. And then they were working on this one, which he apparently initially wanted to be called Shrek Goes Forth. This is going to be like Shrek going out into the world.
Shrek goes. Oh, okay.
But it's spelled fourth, like the number.
Yeah.
But after the guys who wrote the script for this, he read the script and was like, you know what? I think this is actually like the perfect way to end Shrek's story. And he was like, we just won't do another movie, which I agree. I think this movie perfectly wraps up the saga of Shrek.
I think we could see a prequel. I think it would be interesting to see Shrek's early life, but I don't think it should be a family comedy adventure movie. I think it should be a suspense thriller.
Hard R. Live action.
Hard R rated.
Hard R live action.
Hard R rated.
Are you talking about X rated? Is that what you mean?
No, I'm saying when you say hard R, that
what
kind of means something else.
Hard R.
Stop saying it.
Live action. Mike Myers painted green. That's what I want.
Well, he's already painted green in all the movies. That is Mike Myers.
And it's just like 3 hours of just Mike Myers. Like on
It's a stage play.
Yeah, on stage.
But it's filmed.
And it's just him. And like the other characters have dialogue, but they're not.
They're off stage. They're off stage.
No, and they don't say anything. So like all we hear is Shrek's dialogue.
Wait, what?
So like,
so he's talking to them, but we don't hear them.
Yeah, and we just see Mike Myers. That's Shrek 5. That's my pitch. Universal, call me up. I got you. That's how you make all the
DreamWorks.
money.
Listen to us. We got the ideas. Okay. I want to point out. Did you ever play the Wizard 101?
No, but around the time this movie came out, I would have been like 10, and there were commercials for Wizards 101 like all the time.
Doesn't Rumpelstiltskin, when he has the hat on, when he's underneath the carriage, doesn't he look like a Wizard 101 character?
See, I don't really remember what they look like. I remember the commercial. I want to say yes.
I think it's the hat. The hat really sells it. Oh, I'm pulling up an image of this right now.
All right, so everyone, all you Shaggy Goose Egg Boys at home, Google Wizard 101 characters.
Look at that. It's almost the same colors too.
What we're talking about?
Don't you see that?
Well, I don't remember what he looked like in the movie.
Oh, okay. Well, look at that, and then Rumpelstiltskin Shrek hat.
Also, this movie creates.
Look at that.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Which also, hold on, because I still want to talk about that scene. It is super reminiscent of the Better Out Than In.
I just farted, guys. Probably didn't hear it.
I felt it. Super reminiscent of the Wicked Witch of the West underneath the house in Wizard of Oz.
Well, that's also referenced later when he like tosses the water.
Yeah, with the water. Which also there is an insane amount of witches, which kind of brings up the point of like the other repressed groups in
this universe.
Yeah, this universe. What do we call it? Do we call it the Shrekverse, the Ogreverse?
The land of fairy tale creatures. Oh, okay. Also, I do have a few questions that I should have brought up earlier, but it's okay. Would Prince Charming not have saved Fiona?
No.
But why not?
No.
Because like in the second movie, he was clearly going to go there in the timeline.
No.
So what happened? Did she just left the tower?
No.
What do you mean no? She did leave the tower. She did. She's not still in the tower.
She was just a little too late. He was a little too late.
So because like he should still be out there. Fairy Godmother should still be out there. Farquaad shouldn't be
Well,
dead.
okay, no. Here we go. Shrek was never born. Lillian and Harold signed over Far, Far Away to
Oh, so like anything that happened after that wouldn't have happened the same.
right, but it
Okay.
doesn't matter because the point of for Prince Charming to marry Fiona was to become king.
Far, Far Away.
Far, Far Away.
Right.
Which,
okay.
if Harold was and Lillian were no longer the rulers, then it wouldn't have mattered.
Which I also think this
There you
movie
go.
adds credence to our theory of
Gingy being a resistance leader.
Yes, that because he's like a gladiator. in
Yes,
this.
and he's got
But
battle scars.
Also, the fact that Fiona was not cursed as an infant, because like in the storybook, she's like she looks like an adult, but she definitely wasn't cursed when she was an adult. So in the storybook that Rapunzel reads, she's definitely older when she gets cursed.
Yeah.
But also, later in the film, Shrek says this is not in like alternate reality world. Shrek tells her, "You spent half of your life in the palace," and she says, "and the other half locked up in a tower."
Yeah.
Which arguably could just mean like that she spent a long time in the tower. But I took that to mean that like she grew up half her life normally.
It at least means that she wasn't cursed from birth. At least.
And then also the fact that Harold and Lillian went to Rumpelstiltskin, I think, also adds to that.
Yes. Yeah. I think I agree. Yeah, Gingy's a resistance leader. He's got that innate fighting ability. So there's that. Solidified, confirmed. Which has been a long time since I've seen Puss in Boots. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if there's anything in that. Better out than in.
All right, so this is Shrektober Part 4. But I know you're wondering, that's all the Shrek movies.
Well, hold on. I'm not done talking about this movie yet.
Okay. And forget it. I didn't say that, and I'll say it again in a minute.
So Shrek is small compared to the other ogres, which I think is funny.
Oh yeah, I did.
Which I think goes back to the idea of being abandoned early on.
Well, that also could be why his dad tried to eat him, because he was like the runt. So he was like, "You're not gonna be big and strong."
In like ancient Rome, the father had the choice to basically.
Are you talking about Kronos or like the actual father?
No, the actual father
like
of the paterfamilia in Rome had the choice. If they didn't want their kid, or like if it was too small, they would just kill it.
Nice.
So I think that Shrek may have been a runt. But also, so in high school, one of my coaches was pretty short, and he blamed it on his mother not breastfeeding him. And so I think that Shrek may have not been breastfed, which is also why he's small.
Ogres don't have breasts.
Have you seen Fiona?
Nope, I've seen Shrek.
Well, I guess Fiona's not a real ogre. Which I think there's only one other female ogre, which is Jane Lynch. Yeah. So, yikes.
They're going to be getting busy.
Mm-hmm. Which also, can I say I love Cookie?
I do too.
I love Cookie so much.
Craig Robinson is a national
and I think that's I think he is part of I think he's part of what makes his movies one of possibly my favorite Shrek is him, Fat Puss in Boots, Crazy Donkey, because it kind of takes these characters we know and subverts them.
That's like my favorite part, my favorite line. Let me see if I wrote it.
You are a catastrophe, and you, my friend, are redonkulous.
No, it's my favorite line was when Gingy's there and Donkey says, "What are you talking about, cracker?"
Yeah.
Which he's not a cracker, he's a cookie, but
yeah. This just kind of goes back to the Eddie Murphy talking about police brutality. You know, the second one, and then the third one.
There's a part in this one where he's like animal cruelty, which is kind of in the same vein.
My favorite line is I forget, but it's Cookie, and they're
What are you talking about the chimichanga stand?
Yeah. And he's like,
y'all could be hungry after the ambush. Something like that.
Go back to your bad plan. It's just great. Love Cookie. Okay, now I think I wrote Ogres Eating, same song in 2. I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
I assume
I didn't
it means
think there was any repeating like Shrek.
Well,
songs.
the Shrek theme.
Well,
like
but I didn't notice it in this one.
I
thought
did.
it was like all new.
Yeah.
Which
Ogres
I
eating
do think this was the
Samson.
most like cinematic of all the
And two,
Shrek
I
movies.
totally agree with that.
It was like the way the camera work was,
Yeah,
and
I
like
forgot
the
to
editing.
bring that up, but I totally agree with that. There is the Shrek theme in this one was a little bit similar to the Shire theme in like parts, which I thought was interesting.
I think I did hear that.
When they were eating, have you seen Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
When they were eating, Donkey had the eyeballs in his nose, which reminded me of the chick.
When they dunk the eyes in the mouth?
Yeah. So maybe that's an Easter egg. I want to know what I meant by ogres eating same song in 2.
Maybe what you just said. I don't know.
Well, I know, but I'm trying to think of what it actually means.
Maybe like when they were eating the rats in 2.
No, that's in 1.
Oh, okay. Then maybe. Well, the only time they eat in 2.
Oh,
at the dinner scene.
At the dinner, yes, the dinner scene. Yes, that's the same song.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. That's all I got. Okay, talk about next.
All right. So I know all you Shaggy Goose Egg
Goose
boys
bag boys
are not big dummies because you've been thinking about it and you got a big Shrek brain.
Think about it.
So you know.
Oh wait, one more thing. I love that his name is Brogan.
John Hamm?
Yeah. Sorry.
So you know that this is not the last week of Shrektober. So
because there's another Saturday?
So you're probably wondering, but you talk about all the Shrek movies, what are you going to talk about next? And I'm not going to tell you. If you're smart, then you'll know what it is. But
I also already said it.
So if you're smart, you'll know what it is. But all I'm going to tell you is that sometimes Shaggy Goose Egg Boys are a little rotten. And
stinky.
If you're a smarty, then you'll know what we're talking about next week. Also, it's all going to be up in smoke. So just think about that.
Okay.
All right. So Jake, do you want to tell the people where they need to tell us their Shrektober
we need
thoughts?
to solidify what the theme of this movie was.
Oh, we also got to talk about blow-ups.
We also do have to talk about blow-ups. So Thomas, now that we've had this discussion, and I think we'll agree, what do you think? Not the surface, but a little bit deeper. What is this movie about?
Just everything we talked about with like true love and
no, I need a statement, Thomas.
Relationships.
I need a statement.
Yeah, but they were listening. They know.
All right, fine. I'll give a statement. So this movie, I think, is about 2 things. One of them is that nihilistic approach I was talking about, where don't try to control what you can't control, but take charge of what you can control. All right, there's one. The second one is, I think, that real love is sacrificial. All right, let me start over. The second meaning is that real love is sacrificial. Let me start over. I'm going to get this right.
I don't think you are.
The second meaning is that real love is sacrificial, and it transcends time and space, and it does not exist solely to one other person, but it's more a set of feelings that you can receive and portray. That's it.
Is that it?
Yep. Blow-ups, Thomas. There were a lot of pumpkins. There were a lot of pumpkin explosions. But still, I don't think... Oh, the goose! The goose blew up. The goose blew up.
Does that count as a real character?
That's a count as a character, dude.
All right, then I think we can give Shrek Forever After a 4.
No. I'll give Shrek a 3.
Forever After.
Forever After a 3.
Why?
Because although it was a blow-up, it was only one blow-up. And it wasn't a person, it was an animal. And it also happened at the end of the movie during the credits.
Okay, I'll concede to that.
So Shrek Forever After receives a 3 out of 5 on the Ready or Not scale.
The best Shrek.
Which we've already said, this is our favorite Shrek. So that kind of falls in line with what we're saying. If you... Oh, also, I love how Rumpelstiltskin goes, Baba!
That's one of the witches.
Yeah. Okay, so if you've had a great time during Shrektober, make sure to let us know. If you want to see more themed months like this, we might do that. Maybe not. Who knows? Thanksgiving's right around the corner, so is Christmas. If you've got any questions, comments, if you think that there is a real deep underground Need for Speed 2 kind of meaning, let us know over at Twitter. You can hit us up at Pacino Pod on Twitter, or you can shoot us an email at pacinopodcast@gmail.com.
That's how we do it, baby.
Stay tuned for a super special episode next week.
Shrektober finale!
Woo!
And then you don't ever have to think about Shrek ever again. Or you can think about Shrek every day of your life.
Or you can tune into next year's Shrektober, where we're going to just re-release these episodes. It's Down Sauerkraut.
Let's just live stream the musical for a month.
Down Sauerkraut.
Stout and sour kraut.
Baba. Baba.